What's up, guys? It's Benny. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and Democrats have been pushing for President Trump to release all of the Epstein evidence and then running hit pieces against Trump as though he has something to hide. And we've covered those absurd hit pieces in detail on the program. Last night, Donald Trump says, because of the ridiculous amounts of publicity being given to Jeffrey Epstein, I've asked Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam, perpetuated by Democrats, should end right now. Pam Bondi said in response, we are ready to move to the courts tomorrow to unseal all the grand jury transcripts. President Trump. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of frustration on this issue, and we may have just won. Here it is. The official DOJ move to unseal the Epstein files. Here we go. Look at this. United States District Court, Southern District of New York. This is important because this is, of course, where all of the Epstein evidence is. The reason why I know that is because I have sources inside of the DOJ and the FBI that tell me we don't have all of the evidence is under lock and key, under seal in a court in the Southern District of New York, because that's where they can house that's where they can hide all of the evidence. That is like the deep state epicenter nuclear nexus in order to cover up for Democrat criminals. It's where every Democrat wants to be tried. Sam Bankman-Fried, Ghislaine Maxwell, Diddy. That's why they always bring cases there, and so that they can cover up evidence and cover up crimes. The Diddy case was like an absolute cover-up. The prosecution was the cover-up, and he got off, obviously. This is where all the evidence is. Before we read through this, all of the evidence exists up here. Why? Because this is where Ghislaine Maxwell was tried. Ghislaine Maxwell is on appeal. There are like 17 different civil cases that are being brought against Epstein's estate. And so all of the evidence against Diddy, all of the testimony, all the files, everything, including what the Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump wrote a birthday letter to Epstein once. All of it is here. This is all where it resides. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's read. They know where it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to say, they know where it is. Southern District of New York. At the direction of the Attorney General and Department of Justice, hereby moved the court to release the grand jury transcripts associated with the above referenced indictment. July 6, 2025, the Justice Department Federal Bureau of Investigation issued a memorandum describing the exhaustive review undertaken, investigative holdings related to the Jeffrey Epstein memorandum. The memorandum detailed the steps taken by the Department of Justice and FBI to determine whether the existence could predicate an investigation of uncharged third parties. The memorandum concluded no such evidence was uncovered during the review. Since July 6, 2025, there's been an extensive public interest in the bias for the memorandum's conclusions. Look at that. That's amazing. That's us. That's us. This mentions us. In case you're wondering if you have like a small note to play in history, this mentions us. If you care about taking down the most powerful predator ring in the history of the world, the modern history of the world, well, you're part of this. Look at this. Because of the extensive public interest in the bias for the memorandum's conclusion, while the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation continue to adhere to the conclusions reached in the memorandum, transparency to the American public is the utmost importance to this administration. Given the public interest in the investigative work concluded by the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation into Epstein, the Department of Justice moves the court to unseal the underlying grand jury testimony. There it is, United States of America versus Jeffrey Epstein. So they're using this case, not the Ghislaine Maxwell case, which was a proxy for this case. Very important. Wow. It's actually happening. Look at this. Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche have filed a motion in New York seeking the release of the grand jury transcript related to the Epstein case. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. This on the exact same day, in afternoon, actually, that Tulsi Gabbard has referred Barack Obama to Pam Bondi. I guess we'll see what she's made of now, right? There's a time for choosing for all of us. Barack Obama has been referred to Pam Bondi as a traitor. Look at this. Tulsi Gabbard demands prosecution of everybody behind the 2016 Russia hoax, including Barack Obama. Ladies and gentlemen, this post is going viral right now because it, details that Barack Obama should be tried as for treason. Tulsi Gabbard says that Barack Obama's actions are treasonous. 18 U.S. Code 2381, there's no statute of limitations on treason, the most important moment in transparency of U.S. government history. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard just declassified proof of treason by Barack Obama. You can go into detail here. We've already covered it. But it's just a monster day for the administration. This report by the Director of National Intelligence, who's in charge of all the intel community, stating effectively that Barack Obama forced the intelligence community himself to concoct the Russia hoax in order to destroy his successor, Donald Trump, and to steal from him a term as president where he was rightfully elected. Whew, baby. This is a wild one. What an insane afternoon. Donald Trump, of course, has also sued the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, Dow Jones, and Rupert Murdoch over their fake Epstein letter bombshell. So lawsuits are just flying. Things are moving. Man. Seditious conspiracy, defined as two or more people conspiring to overthrow or put down, or destroy by force the U.S. government to prevent it from carrying out its lawful functions. Baby, this is wild. Wild. It's a wild afternoon. There's so much going on, but the Epstein DOJ formally asked Manhattan court to unseal Epstein grand jury testimony. DOJ motion to unseal Epstein grand jury transcripts. There you go. Read it and weep. They're also asking for United States versus Maxwell. Here's what they're asking for. Grand jury, Southern District of New York, indictment against Epstein for sex trafficking. 2, grand jury sitting in Southern District of New York charged Epstein's longtime confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, on numerous offenses of trafficking and coercion of minors. 3, the Department of Justice Federal Bureau of Investigation, conclusion of their review in particular to Epstein's crimes and death. Since then, the public interest in this matter has remained. Given the longstanding interest, the government now moves to unseal all grand jury associated with Epstein. 4, it is a tradition of law of proceedings of grand jury generally remain in secret. However, it is not absolute. Public official lawmakers, pundits, and ordinary citizens remain deeply interested and concerned about the Epstein matter. We have been heard. Listen to that. And they cite a bunch of cases as to why public interest can cause a court to give up its evidence. Okay, they say that they don't want to re-victimize people. That's fine. For these reasons, the court should conclude that Epstein and Maxwell cases qualify as a matter of public interest and release all associated grand jury transcripts and lift any pre-existing protective orders. It is entirely conceivable that in some situations, historic or public interest alone could justify the release of grand jury information. Signed, Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Wild. Wild. What a wild week. An incredible week. People celebrating this from the rooftops. Got Anna Paulina Luna celebrating this right now on my timeline. Here's the Speaker of the House. We asked him this week, what do you think should happen? Mike Johnson. It's almost like you knew, right? Mike Johnson saying, no, they got to release everything. So glad that we are here. This is a victory for you and me and this audience and everybody who wants to make and leave America a better place than we found it. Okay? Here's the Speaker. Proud to be playing a note here.
A question here about it that concerns either testifying or testimony for Ghislaine Maxwell, potentially before Congress, or if you would support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the release of subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Marjorie or Anna about that specific subject, but I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity and going after Act Blue and the things that the president is most concerned about, as we are. So I'm anxious to get this behind us.
Yeah, and I can see that because there's so many victories and there's so many wins that are happening.
We just had the most incredible 6 months of any administration, arguably in the history of the United States. There are so many accomplishments. It would take us a stack of papers this high, and yet we're having to spend our time talking about this. Let's get it resolved.
That's going to be wildly refreshing for this audience, and to speak on behalf of them, to hear somebody just say, let's just have transparency with the American people, get it out there, and there's no reason to protect predators, right? So. I mean,
of course.
This is the family values party. Let's just do it.
What Epstein was involved in was an unspeakable evil. We've got to stand against it, not just in word, but in deed. And so we'll see what happens. Look, I do trust the president. I know his heart and head is in the right place. I don't question that at all. And I'm convinced they're going to sort this out.